Peace, love, and light. Welcome to the existence changing experience that is the Institute of Biblical Studies and Higher Consciousness. And I'm Pastor Walker, the founder, the teacher, your guide on the road to spiritual excellence. I'm here grateful with all gratitude to the Creator of all for the opportunity to come again with those of you that come in on Zoom with us weekly, and for those that view these videos when I post them to YouTube. I just humbly ask that if this video or the videos on my channel are a blessing to you, to please like, share, and subscribe. I'm grateful to be with you in fellowship in the Word, and I'm just ecstatic about the many subjects that are imputed into my spirit to explore. You know, some people may not feel that these subjects are relevant, but they have no clue of how relevant these subjects are. You know, the word constantly tells us to come out of bondage. But how can you come out of bondage? How can you deliver yourself without the knowledge of the bondage that you're in? Because to forsake knowledge, to refuse to accept that there is a system in place to keep you in bondage, to keep you in captivity, to keep you blind per se to the various techniques and tactics. You know, it keeps you living in bliss, which bliss is not it's not a good thing. I mean, ignorance, they say ignorance is bliss. I'm sorry. They say ignorance is bliss, but that's not a good thing. And so my mission here, whether small or great, is to reveal to you the information to help you to free your mind, to help you to free yourself from the powers and the constructs that we were born into. This stuff was meticulously done and orchestrated, and it's still being done. From church to all the infomercials that you see on your phone. To be able to live life with consciousness and intelligence should be all of our ultimate goal. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and affirm us in, and then we're going to go ahead and go back into the last week's lesson topic. Hopefully I'll be finishing it today. The importance of etymology. Let's affirm. Creator of all, we give all esteem and honor for the blessing of life or the gift of life, this life spark, movement of our limbs, the animation of this vessel. For intelligence and soundness of mind, we're grateful for every door open, every way made, every positive and good and perfect gift that comes from above, that's presented to us from the universe as a result of the frequency and the vibration that we emit. We're grateful for the intelligence to hear truth and implement truth in life. Thank you for truth coming our way. We humble ourselves and confess that we have no sin, and any transgression against universal law, divine law, we repent that we may align ourselves for elevation. I humbly ask that you would think through my mind and speak through my mouth those things which are beneficial for the edification of those listening. We give all honor and esteem to the Creator of all, and for the blessedness of the universe. We're grateful for our ancestors and angels, universal energies and spirit guides. I welcome all in, that I may be fed with infinite wisdom, that I may display it before the people. These things I speak in the name of the Creator, that I may come before the throne of the Almighty. So be it. Again, welcome to the Institute of Biblical Studies and Higher Consciousness, where there is a existence changing experience. Last week, we started talking about etymology, the importance of etymology. And please forgive me. I'm wrestling with something this morning. So just send some loving energy toward me as I overcome. Because anytime the enemy knows that you're prepared to go forth, They're always going to send an agent to try to get you off track. But let us go into the scripture. For those of you that have your iPads, iPods, cell phones, laptops, desktops, all the ways, scriptures, books that you're either viewing this video or going into the word. Follow me back to John, the 8th chapter, verse 32, and it says this: and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And we went through and we defined those words: to know, truth, and make. So if you're seeing this video for the first time, go back and see part 1 as I break down truth, know, make, free, and of course etymology, because our subject is the importance of etymology. If you are going to be successful with winning this war for your soul, for your mind, for your life, you have to be willing to go back to the root of things. That is why etymology is so important. When in school, back in the early years before 1946, etymology, the study of etymology, was a key cornerstone in education. But when the powers that be decided to dumb society down, they introduced spelling, grammar, and all this stuff. And I went into the definition of what those are as well. Cursive, the writing of cursives. Meanwhile, the powers that be still allow their children to study etymology so that they can remain in power, in rulership, so they can step into their roles in this whole mind mess. I was going to say something else on the psychology or the psychological being of the masses. So we went into all of that history on last week and what it is. So I'm going to pick up where I left off at. I went through certain examples of words like government, which means mind control, mortgage, a death oath, or a death pledge, pharmacy, which means sorcery and witchcraft, and I gave some examples of statements. And although a word may be spelled differently, its pronunciation is still the same. For example, week or day, of the days of the week. When we know to be in a daze is to be confused, to be unawares. Weak means to be without strength. So we are taught these words, and then they come up with words, ebonic words, and all of these words to throw in on your psychology, your subconsciousness. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm not going to say I'm sorry because I'm not. On your subconscious mind to create a life that is puppeteered from someone external from you. They're utilizing your own power against you. And they're causing you to speak it. So I'm going to pick up with this statement. All of these words or statements are spells casting limitations on your reality without you knowing it. Words are not neutral. They are technology. Their frequency, technology. Every word you speak creates an electromagnetic signature. Language is literally reality programming technology. If you keep saying I don't have no money enough, your life will create the circumstances, or the universe will send you, mirror to you circumstances to destroy all your money. It's reality creating technology. Once you accept this, you must gain complete linguistic sovereignty. Stop speaking unconsciously, signing invisible contracts. Stop casting limitation spells on your own life, because that's what you're doing. You're signing invisible contracts unconsciously. You're casting limitation spells unconsciously. Reclaim the creative power deliberately hidden from you. You are a frequency generator broadcasting electromagnetic signatures every second. And language is how you tune that frequency. Every sentence is a contract with the universe, and it always says yes. The universe will give you what you speak into it. Now, here's a little bit of history for you. After World War II, a man named Edward Bernays, Bernays, a nephew, he was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, he wrote the book on propaganda. Now, Edward Bernays took the work of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was working on methods and means to free people psychologically, to help them pass the shadow self, to help produce a better person, a better being. But Edward Bernays saw the information because he was a marketer. And he saw the information that his uncle, as a matter of fact, he sent his uncle some cigars in exchange for his research on the subconscious mind. And he studied it and created a way to make people go to war, to make the president look like Superman, to influence the people to go to war and to the public to accept war when they went to World War II. And he took it further than that. He ended up getting with marketers, okay, businessmen, and they took over certain industries. They implemented the same tactics in those industries. For example, it was not common for women to smoke cigarettes, let alone smoke them in public. But a part of the feminist movement, when the men went to war and the women had to start working, they utilized a campaign. And in that campaign, they lit a cigarette with a bunch of women around, a man lighting a cigarette with a bunch of women around him lighting cigarettes to show women that when you light a cigarette, you empower or you encompass the male power, the male's drive and strength. And women began smoking cigarettes. How did they do that? Well, Edward Bernays understood that controlling language was the way to control the masses. His philosophy was that a population that decodes words is dangerous because they ask more questions, because they understand etymology. See, when a person understands etymology, when they understand the root, the beginning, the true meaning of a word, then they're more apt to reject the spell casting and the influences, because why? They're operating in knowledge. They're operating in power. People that understand or that acknowledge and know etymology can see through the manipulation because they recognize the spells being cast. Proverbs, the 18th chapter, verse 1 says this: through desire, a man having separated himself intermeddled with all wisdom. Edward Bernays understood how to tap into the desire of mankind. That is the whole focus of, or that was the key focus, the beginning focus of propaganda, to tap into the desire of the masses. That is why your fast food restaurants are so popular, your department stores, all of the things that people run out and throw their money at, because they understand the human psyche and their hidden desires. And that's what Edward Bernays was key at, putting out the inward desires of man. The same tactics are being used on every infomercial, every video that you see on social media to get you to pull your wallet out and pay out some money. Now, hear wisdom, because it says, having separated himself. You got to separate yourself from the spells, from the influences of those that are utilizing words to entrap you. And they use them with visualization. Those are two key components of propaganda. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Shall eat what fruit? Death and life. It's how you utilize your tongue. They know this, that you can pronounce and you speak it to reality. Those things that come from your words. You send that vibration out, that electromagnetic signature that you create to create life. What do you mean? Well, back in the day when they used to ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, the more popular things were firemen, policemen, military. As kids like, I'm going to be a fireman. Little John said, I'm going to be a fireman. Once he spoke that and got that in his heart, he began to focus on that. Little kids that want to go to the NFL, they speak it, they get it in their heart, and they do everything possible to make themselves a prospect for the NFL. And the same thing with business and any other thing. The same thing with higher education. Whatever field that a person desires to go in, they go to college for, they put the energy into it, and they manifest it. So you eat the fruit for whatever your tongue speaks. And now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather be aware of what I'm speaking so that I can take responsibility for it rather than inadvertent suffering because I don't know what the heck I'm saying, but I'm saying words to curse my life. That's why negative self-talk is a no-no. Proverbs 12 chapter verse 18. And I like the way them words, them numbers flip. 1, 2, 1, and 8. Now, Proverbs 12 and 18 says, there is that speak it like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. Consciousness, without intelligence, and you're just using words that you heard, it pierces like a sword, your life. It kills, it destroys. But it says the words, the tongue of the wise is health, because the wise know how to utilize words properly. They know the proper meaning, and they know what words to stay away from. They know what words to use to empower their life, to improve and increase their life, and stay away from words that are detrimental or destructive. I saw a video where a man said, change the reality of your generations. He said, stop yelling at your kids at night before they go to bed. That's the last thing that's in their psyche, in their subconscious mind. He said, stop yelling at your kids when they get up first thing in the morning, because it sets the tone of their day. You don't have to yell, boy, put that down. Stop that. Get your butt up. You don't have to do all that. You come in with the words of the honeycomb, like the book of Proverbs says, say, even if the kid is frustrating you, the child is frustrating you, son, go ahead and get up. It's time for school. Come on, get up now. You know, you got to go now. You got to get going. And remember, you're successful, you're powerful, you're intelligent. You are the greatest. Now you have a great day, and I love you. That's why you're supposed to send your child out of school, so they can have a great day. But you know them bad children that cut up in class because their mom and daddy's got up yelling at them first thing in the morning, beating on them and carrying on, cussing them out and fussing them out. You ain't gonna be about nothing. You ain't never got trouble. So what they do, they act that stuff out. Why? Because my mom and dad say, ain't nothing but trouble no way. It's in the subconscious mind. All of that begins with knowing the root and etymology of words and how to utilize them. When you utilize words of care, you create an empowering situation. But when you utilize words of hurt and destruction, you create devastation. Proverbs 21st chapter, verse 23 says this: whosoever keep his mouth and his tongue, keepeth his souls from troubles. Now, that don't mean to not talk. That means to be aware of what you're saying. It means to watch over your mouth, to guard it, to know what's coming out of your mouth. He that knows and guards and protects his mouth and his tongue keeping his souls from trouble. When you know that you're speaking, when you keep guard, you will know when you're speaking negative words, and you can call your energy back from them words. You can cast them down, or you can not speak them. The key is to be aware of what you're saying to keep your soul from trouble. But the only way to do that is to know, to grasp, to be cognizant of, because I'm trying to get away from understanding because I ain't standing on nothing. The etymology of words. Know their roots. Utilize them in their proper fashion. Stabilize society to train your thoughts and to give you words to speak. You know, it's sad when pastors, because they want to fit in with the crowd and be modern, they want to utilize words from the streets, having not even done a study on where the word comes from and what it means. When you are a mouthpiece speaking into the subconsciousness of every member you have, you are supposed to bring the people out of darkness in the light, not join them in the light. In the darkness. See, ancient civilizations, they view words as potent, sacred tools, blending language with magic, religion, and authority to manipulate reality. This is what the ancients knew. That's why they wrote hieroglyphs on the walls, and they utilized certain words, letters that had numerical values, like the so-called Hebrew language, that carries a frequency with each letter. And even so-called Hebrew Israelites, when they speak these words, don't even understand that you're speaking a frequency into reality, because they're scared to go into information like this. Egyptians use haiku, or hekau, Hekau, which means words of power, and hieroglyphic talismans for protection and afterlife, while Mesopotamian magicians employed divine names to defeat evil. Now, these were civilizations before so-called Hebrewism, Christianity, and Islam. Yet they had this esoteric knowledge of words and utilized it with wisdom. While divine names to defeat evil. Spoken or written, words function as commands to influence gods, manage the present, and secure lasting power. In regards to magical and religious potency, in Egypt, hieroglyphs were considered living symbols, not just representations. Carving the name in stone was believed to immortalize the person and give them power in the afterlife. Hekau, words of power, Egyptians believed that speaking specific divine words, Hekau, allowed practitioners to wield divine strength and influence the universe, controlling the supernatural. Across Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome, incantations and magical formulas were used to control spirits, gods, or demons, and to alter fate. Symbols of authority. The Tota world, Tota, points out that Mesopotamian, or Tota.world, points out that Mesopotamian, particularly Babylonian magicians, relied on hidden power in the names of deities like Ea or Merodach, or Enki and Marduk in the English, to destroy evil, as noted in Tota.world and the collector.com. Psychological and healing power. DW explains that according to studies by the Spectre, spoken incantations were used by ancient physicians and priests to alleviate pain, reduce fear, and support healing, acting as an early form of psychological support. Why? Because it goes into the subconscious mind. It creates a electromagnetic signature. It sends a vibration into the ether. Now, according to administrative and political control, UCLA notes that the rise of urban organized societies in the ancient Near East meant that writing became crucial bureaucracy law and reinforcing the authority of rulers, according to UCLA. Because when they put them words in the writing, just like the word government means mind control, government means to control, ment meaning mind, their laws and statutes control you. Words were ultimately not seen just as communication, but as a bridge between the mortal and divine realms, acting as tools to command, protect, and alter reality. Well, what is the Hakau system of words? Generally, Hakau is seen as an ancient Egyptian reverence for language and knowledge. Words were regarded as sacred, and therefore their utterance was placed under the principle of divination. And you didn't have them talking all the time, no useless talk. They talk with purpose. They talk to create, to produce. In the Book of the Dead, chapter 24, the deceased was given a knowledge of Hakau, the words of power. I'm going to get the Book of the Dead. I'm going to buy that book. A word's origin meaning sets the vibrational tone for reality. It's what I'm basically saying. Spirituality and metaphysics. In some spiritual New Age practices, there is a belief that words carry specific energy or vibrations. Proponents of this view might argue that the purest, most potent form of a word's energy is tied to its original, fundamental meaning, influencing how it feels when spoken or thought. Philosophy and semantics. Philosophers of language explore how words connect to reality and our perception of it. The sound, structure, and history of a word all contribute to the emotional and intellectual impact it has on the listener or the reader, shaping a feeling that might metaphorically be described as a vibrational tone. What you speak, you feel. What you feel, you manifest. So when you're speaking without knowledge or intelligence, you're unknowingly manifesting into your life circumstances of horror and destruction, limitations. Now, according to harmonic resonance, words were not merely spoken. They're intoned or vibrated. And also, in doing so, form a harmonic resonance with everything around us. Goes back to the example of the strawberries in the two bags. The I love you bag and I hate you bag. The I hate you bag molded within a couple of days because of the negative vibration that came from the word. Meanwhile, the I love you bag lasted for 2 weeks overtime because of the vibration of love. Any object vibrating strong enough will intensely or a strong emotional quality. An object nearby that share that same vibratory rate and emotional state will begin vibrating in harmony with each other. This occurs in both the unseen world of pure thought and speaking words internally, while forming imagery realities, and outward in the seen world. Okay, let me go. Outwardly in the seen world by speaking those same words, producing an obvious reaction in others. In other words, in that, when you can get somebody to do a video or stand before a crowd of people, and those people link up with that vibration that that person's on, it changes their reality. Whether it is to get them to buy something, to get them to give away something, whatever it is. We're always influencing everyone around us through any form of thinking coupled with intense emotions. This is easy to realize by the fact that anytime we approach or are around someone who just had an intense emotional experience, is still thinking about it and reliving it in their mind. We can sense their emotions by just being in their presence. We're always communicating subliminally through emotional influence as a state of mind, just by what we're feeling and thinking at any moment. That is why you must know the etymology of words. So that if you're vibrating low frequently in a low frequency, or you're thinking the wrong things and those words are running through your mind, you have to arrest them words and get them out of you and replace them with the proper words. We need to go back and go into that dictionary, buy older dictionaries because these new ones have been modified, to get back to the root of words, to know what we're speaking, to not utilize a word until you realize and know its true meaning and the power behind it. That's why they say the ancients used to use words to evoke the powers of God and to control gods, because they believe when you spoke the name of a god, of a deity, you encompass their power, their energy. Matthew 15:11 says this: not that which goeth into the mouth defiles a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defiles man. Because what comes out of the man's mouth is what shapes his reality. And if corrupt communication, that's why the scripture says to not let no corrupt communication come out of your mouth. Let me get that one, because I didn't put that in my scripture, but I'm in my lesson, but I'm about to get it now, so you can have it. You know what I meant. Now, Ephesians, 4th chapter, verse 29. Oh, I'm going to give you both of them. I'm going to read the first one to you. 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, verse 33. And let me put these in here real quick so I don't lose them. No, it's not typically good manners to modify this lesson while I'm teaching you, but sometimes you got to go with it to make sure you got it, because I'm in the moment. Now, it says, 1 Corinthians 15th chapter, verse 33 says, be not deceived, evil communication corrupts good manners. Evil communication are those words that are spoken not unknowingly, negative words, because you using a word because it sounds good and you heard somebody else use it and you don't know the meaning, but not realizing that those words are shaping your reality when you use them. So you begin to line your life up with those words. You begin to act them words out. You begin to carry out the true meaning of those words. That's why the ancients in the so-called Hebrew way of life or society, they gave their children words with names with meaning. That's why you can't just name your child anything. That was the purpose behind the story of what was that? The Jabez, Yabez, because his name meant trouble. And he prayed his famous prayer. Oh, if thou will bless me indeed and enlarge my coast. And all that stuff that he said. Because he knew his name meant trouble because his mother bore him in what? Trouble. He didn't want people calling him trouble. Every time they called his name, they were calling him trouble. And he knew that would create, if he accepted in his reality, in his subconscious, would shape his reality. So he had to pray against it. Ephesians 4:29, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to be used of edifying, that it may minister grace to the hearers, or favor to the hearers. Be cognizant of your words. Use words that are going to build up and lift up and edify rather than destroy or cast down. But you will corruptly use words where you don't know their etymology. Hosea 4 chapter verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. You're destroyed because you reject knowledge. I'm putting this information out to you, but because it's not the traditional, Jesus died on the cross, you reject the knowledge. Because I ain't putting it out like your favorite pastor, your favorite Christian pastor, whatever. But I'm giving you truth and knowledge, an intelligent word regardless. But you get destroyed because you reject going back, looking at the etymology of words to reshape your life, to reshape your so-called vocabulary. Psalms 15 verses 1 through 2. Lord, who shall be able to abide? Who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Or who shall dwell in thy holy hill? Answer, he that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh truth in his heart. Speaking truth means knowing the etymology of words, to use them in their truest form, to harvest the most pure essence of the power of that word. That is what that is. Then you could go into the holy temple of the Most High. Then you can abide in that tabernacle. Why? Because when I utilize words with consciousness and intelligence, I am now operating as a what? God. Psalms 43:3. Oh, send out thy light and thy truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me unto thy holy hill and into thy tabernacles. But I'm not going nowhere if I don't receive the light of knowledge and information and truth. That is what I'm here to give you. That is what I'm here to free you from the bondage of ignorantly using words and entrapping and limiting your life. Psalms 85:11. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. That is why we're in the age of Aquarius, the age of truth, the age of revealing those things that were hidden, so that we can empower ourselves and evolve and operate as we once did in the spirit realm completely. To make this flesh act like it is in the spirit realm where your soul resides. Psalms 5:8. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. You know that your enemy wants to keep you subjugated. The same 1% of people ruling the world and using every means that they can to keep you blind, to keep you ignorant, to keep you utilizing words that you're not even aware that's destroying your life, limiting your life, causing you to age, causing you to be sick from sicknesses and diseases and all the other stuff, generational curses. Proverbs 1:23. This is my prayer for you. when you hear the words that come through me. I may not be the most eloquent speaker right now. I may not have the most influence in following right now, but I am sincere in what I'm doing, and I seek that you be delivered and set free. Hear my prayer. Turn at my rebuke. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. That is the word that is written through wisdom, from wisdom. Kakamawa Sophia, because I give you nothing of my own accord, only according to the wisdom that's revealed to me and the information that is downloaded into this vessel. Know the importance of etymology. Make it a deliberate part of your life and experience the victory that comes with properly utilizing words to create a reality that you deserve, that you would love to live. Go to the beginning to secure the end and produce a positive future. This has been the Existence Changing Experience. Create all. We thank